Hello students, how are you all? I hope all are you doing well at homes. So I'm saying again that please stay at home and stay safe and do all those activities which increase your immunity levels, and don't forget to wash your hands regularly. So as a part of our syllabus completion during the lockdown period, so we have already started third unit corrosion, right? And we have also successfully completed two modules. Okay, in last second module we have started discussing about corrosion control methods. In that, the two important corrosion control methods, like uh, sacrificial anodic protection method and impressed current cathodic protection method we have discussed. Okay, so today in module 3 we are going to discuss about corrosion control methods or control of corrosion by modifying the metal. Okay, in that we are going to discuss about the surface coatings or protective coatings. So how can we protect the metals by doing this surface coating type of activities? Okay, so let us enter into this portion of the third module, that is control of corrosion by modifying the metal. Okay, so in that, the first one we have to talk about is surface coatings. So surface coatings, which are also called as protective coatings, which are used to protect the metals from corrosion. Okay, so protective coatings act as a physical barrier between the coated metal surface and the environment. However, they are also used for the decorative purpose. Okay, in addition to corrosion protection and decoration, they import some special properties such as hardness, electrical properties, oxidation resistance, and thermal insulating properties to the protected surface. Coatings like paints, varnishes, lacquers, and enamels are called organic coatings. They are applied on the metallic surfaces for both corrosion resistant and decoration. Okay, so if we observe about these protective coatings or surface coatings, most of these surface coatings are used to protect the surface of the metals from corrosion. Okay, so whenever we apply these protective coatings on the surface of the metals, most of the time these protective coatings acts as physical barriers between the coated metal surface and the environment. However, they also use it for the decorative purpose also. So most of the coatings, most of the paints, varnishes that we apply on the metal surfaces give some aesthetic values to those metal surfaces. So that's why these protective coatings not only for the protection purpose, at the same time some decorative purpose also most of the time we use. So these protective coatings were in both ways. Okay, so in addition to the corrosion protection and decoration, they also import some important characteristics to the metallic surface. For example, like because of these coatings, metal gets hardness, some electrical properties, improved electrical properties, and oxidation resistance and thermal insulating properties also apply to the metallic surfaces. Okay, so most of the time coatings like paints, varnishes, lacquers, and enamels, okay, these are also applied most of the time like an organic coatings. They applied on the metallic surfaces for both corrosion resistance and also for decoration purpose. So if you see these protective coatings, we can classify these protective coatings into two types: inorganic coatings and organic coatings. Okay, so we can classify this protective coatings into two types: inorganic coatings and organic coatings. Okay, so in inorganic coatings, these inorganic coatings are again of two types: metallic coatings and non-metallic coatings. Okay, and organic coatings, there are various kinds of organic coatings are there, like paints, varnishes, okay, lacquers and enamels, etc. So most of these organic coatings are made up of several organic chemical materials. Okay, so that's why they're called organic coatings. Okay, if you come to the inorganic metals, these again are divided into metallic coatings and non-metallic coatings. Okay, first is about metallic coatings. Okay, so metallic coatings are nothing but in order to prevent one important metal, okay, another metal is melted and it is applied like a coating on the surface of the another metal. Okay, so that's how the metallic coatings are applied. Okay, so these metallic coatings done by various processes like hard dipping processes, metal cladding process, cementation process, and electroplating process, etc. And non-metallic coatings these are non-metallic in nature. So mostly these non-metallic coatings are done by surface or chemical conversion coating methods or anodizing methods, okay, or vitreous or porcelain enamel coating type of methods. Okay, so in our syllabus we have these metallic coating methods that are including hot dipping methods, cementation, and electroplating methods or electroless plating methods are there in our syllabus. Okay, so without doing further delay, let us enter into the metallic coatings. So in methods of coating, so the first important coatings are metallic coatings. So metallic coatings are mostly applied on the iron and steel because these are the cheap and commonly used construction materials. So to apply these metallic coatings, these following methods of metallic coatings generally available. These are comes under electroplating, electroless plating, hot dipping. Among these hot dipping, again there are galvanizing and tinning methods are there. Okay, so these are the important metallic coating methods that we have in our syllabus. Okay, electroplating, electroless plating, hot dipping, galvanizing, and tinning. So the first method is electroplating method. Okay, electroplating method is nothing but it is the process in which the coating of metal is deposited on the base metal by passing a direct current through an electrolytic solution which contain the soluble salt of the coating metal. Okay, so whatever the coating metal that we want to apply on a metallic surface, okay, in that vessel or in that entire container, the electrolytic solution that we use also should containing the same soluble salt solution. Okay, for example, if you want to coat nickel on iron, whatever the electrolyte solution that we take, it are also composed of nickel salt solution. Okay, so that's how this electroplating method works. So again, electroplating is the process in which the coating metal is deposited on the base metal by passing a direct current through an electrolytic solution containing the soluble salt of the coating metal. Okay, so the base metal to be plated is made cathode of an electrolytic cell, whereas the anode is either made of the coating metal itself or an inert material of good electrical conductivity, for example graphite. Okay, so the base metal to be plated is generally considered as cathode. Okay, for example, if we consider to construct an electrolytic cell, okay, one metal should be taken as cathode, another metal should be taken as anode. Here the cathode is our target metal, which surface should be coated, okay, in order to protect from the corrosion. Okay, and whatever the another metal that we are going to coat it on the surface of the cathode, that is act as anode. Okay, so here the anode either made of the coating metal itself or an inert material of good electrical conductivity. Okay, for example, graphite is generally most of the time they used as anode in order to coat on the base metallic surfaces like iron. Okay, so here if you see the graphite itself, okay, it is an inert material. Graphite is the nature of the graphite is inert in nature. At the same time, it is also good electrical conductor. Okay, so that's why most of the time graphite is used as an anode material in order to coat on the surface of the metal. Okay, and which is also available very much cheaply. Okay, so that's why in electroplating method, the target metal that we want to protect from the corrosion, okay, that is considered as cathode. Okay, on that anodic metal which is melted and coated, okay, is considered as anode. Okay, that should be either, okay, the same metal can be used itself as a coating material, or it should be an inert material which containing good electrical conductivity. Okay, so if you see the diagram of electroplating, okay, so there is a container, okay, in that an electrolytic solution is taken. This electrolytic solution containing the soluble salt, okay, the elements present in the soluble salt also is the same from the anode. Okay, whatever the anodic coating metal that we take, okay, with the same metallic solution, metallic salt should be present in the electrolytic solution, and whatever the objective cathode is there, that is our target metal or base metal, which should be protected by coating anode on it. Okay, so that's how this electroplating cell made up of by connecting both anode and cathode with an electric wire or some other electric source where current which flows current through it. Okay, the second method is called electrolysis plating method. So if you see the first method, which is called electroplating method, where electricity is used in order to coat an anode material on the surface of the cathode metal. Okay, but here in electrolysis plating method, this technique is of depositing a noble metal, okay, from its salt solution on a catalytically active surface of a less noble metal by applying a suitable reducing agent without using electrical energy. Okay, so without using electrical energy, by utilizing a reducing agent. Okay, so what happened here, on the surface of less noble metal, okay, a more effective or more active noble metal will be coated like a protective coating on the surface of the less noble metal. Okay, so that's why it is called electrolysis plating method, without utilizing electrical energy, just by utilizing a reducing agent on the surface of less noble metal, more active noble metal will be coated. Okay, so the added reducing agent causes the reduction of the metallic ions to metal, which eventually gets plated over the catalytically activated surface, giving a highly uniform but thin coating. So the basic objective of this method is, by applying a reducing agent, is here the reducing agent reduces metal ions into an active metal. Okay, so that's why whatever the electrolyte solution is present which containing the more active noble metal solution, by applying this reducing agent, okay, this reducing agent reduces those metal ions from the electrolyte solution to metal, which will be coated on the surface of the another target metal. Okay, so that is the basic function of reducing agent here. Okay, so whatever the coating applied because of the reduction happen, okay, most of this time what happen here, the surface is highly uniform, but most of the time thin coating will be applied. Okay, so thus metal ions plus reducing agent, okay, gives rise to metal plus oxidized product. Okay, so what happened here, this reducing agent reduces metal ions to metal. Okay, so that's why an oxidized byproduct will form again. Okay, so whatever the metal ions reduced to metal, this metal is deposited over on the catalytically active surface of the metal. Okay, so the driving force is autocatalytic redox reaction on pre-treated catalytic surface. So the driving force is autocatalytic redox reaction on pre-treated catalytic surface. So various aspects of electrolysis plating are, so first one here, the first important aspect of this electrolysis plating method is preparation of active surface of the object to be plated. So before going to do this electrolysis plating technique, first we have to prepare the active surface metal of the object. Okay, so how we can prepare the active surface of the object to be plated is, this step is most important on this technique. This is achieved by using one of the following methods. First one is called etching, that is nothing but by acid treatment. So in a first step we have to treat the metallic surface with acid, which is also called as etching. Second one is called electroplating, a thin layer of the metal to be plated or any other suitable metal. This is usually followed by heat treatment. Okay, second step in this preparation of the active surface of the metal. Okay, electroplating of a thin layer of the metal to be plated on any other suitable metal. Okay, so third one is called treating with stannous chloride followed by dipping in palladium chloride solution. This treatment yields a thin layer of palladium on the treated surface. Usually this is followed in case of plastic and printed circuit boards. Okay, so in third step what they will do, they have to treat the surfaces with stannous chloride solution followed by dipping in palladium chloride solution. So two salt solutions are, metallic salt solutions are utilizing here. First one is called stannous chloride solution followed by dipping in palladium chloride solution. So what happened here, this treatment yields a thin layer of palladium. So palladium chloride, from palladium ions are reduced, okay, to palladium, which is generally coated on the surface of the materials. Okay, most of these materials are belong to either plastics or printed circuit boards, mostly coated with this palladium uh, palladium coating. Okay, so like that they prepare the surface, active surface of the object to be plated. Okay, um, second step we have to follow, plating bath is composed. So here a plating bath should be prepared. This plating bath is composed of, first one, a soluble state of metal like chlorides or sulfates, which are to be plated. So whatever the metal that we are going to like melt and plate on the surface of another metal, that metal should be in the form of soluble metallic solution. Okay, second one is called reducing agent like formaldehyde, okay, hypophosphate, etc. should be used. Okay, most of the reducing agent that we use in electrolysis plating are formaldehyde, hypophosphate, etc. Third step in this plating bath is complexing agent like tartarate, citrate, succinate, etc. So this improves the quality of the deposit. So complexing agent is nothing but it is just like a binding agent, okay, which binds the soluble salt metal solution on the surfaces of the metallic surface of metal. Okay, so here complexing agents like tartarate, citrate, succinate, etc. they use like complexing agent, okay, which can bind firmly those metallic coating on the surface of the another inactive or less active metal. Okay, so fourth one is called exultant like succinate, fluoride, glycinate also will be used in this plating bath. Okay, this enhances the plating rate. So plating rate is nothing but the amount of metal coated per over a period of time. Okay, by using these exultant agents like succinates, fluorides and glycinates, okay, the rate of the plating will be enhanced by using these agents. Okay, and some stabilizers also added to this plating bath. These stabilizers like thiourea, cations of lead, calcium, okay, thallium, etc. is added to prevent the deposition of plating bath solution. So some stabilizers also will be added like thiourea and lead ions, calcium ions and thallium ions, etc. Okay, in order to prevent the deposition of plating bath solution. Okay, for example, so this plating bath solution is nothing but it is a vessel which contains this salt solution. So whenever we use all these agents, okay, the vessel, there is a chance of this vessel should itself coated with that solution, right? So in order to prevent the self coating of this vessel here, some stabilizer agents will be added. So the vessel which we use it for coating may not be coated. Okay, sixth one, some buffer like sodium acetates, sodium hydroxide plus Rochelle salt, etc. also will be used, okay, as components of this plating bath. Okay, these are added to control the pH of the bath. So it may be pointed that the pH of the bath plays a critical role in getting a uniform but thin deposit. So here some pH agents, okay, some pH buffer agents also will be added like sodium acetate, sodium hydroxide, some Rochelle salts, etc. So in order to maintain the pH levels of the plating baths, so that's so the pH of the bath plays a critical role here in order to get the uniform coating, okay, and also a thin deposited coating on the surface of the metal. Okay, so these are the various components of a plating bath. Okay, a soluble salt of metals, okay, reducing agents like formaldehydes, hypophosphates, okay, complexing agents like tartarate, citrate, succinate, etc. and some exultant agents like succinate, fluorides, glycinates, etc. some stabilizer agents like thiourea, cations of lead, calcium, thallium, etc. and some buffering agents in order to maintain the pH level of the plating bath like like sodium acetate, sodium hydroxide, some Rochelle salts, etc., depending upon the type of metal that we use for coating purpose. Okay, so these are the various contents that we add in a plating bath. So these are the two important phases that we observe in electrolysis plating of any metal. Okay, so first one is the preparation of the active surface of the metal. Okay, second one is the preparation of plating bath. Okay, so now let us go for the example how a copper is plated by using this electrolysis plating. This is very important. Electrolysis plating of copper technique, how copper is coated by using this electrolysis plating method. Okay, so here also the same two steps will be applied. The first step one is pre-treatment and activation of the surface of copper metal. Okay, second step is preparation of stable plating bath. So step one is pre-treatment and activation of the surface. Okay, so in this, the surface of the specimen, that is copper metal, to be plated is first degreased using an organic solvent. The unwanted particles are then removed by acid treatment called etching process. Okay, so what we discussed earlier, that the first step in first step that we have to go through in preparation of active surface of the metal is the etching process. Etching process is nothing but in order to remove any grease material, some unwanted impurities are present on the surface of the metal, that will be removed by acid treatment, which is called etching process. Okay, so if the specimen, okay, or if the copper surface is non-metallic, such as glass, plastics and printed circuit boards, they are sensitized by dipping them into a solution having stannous chloride and HCl, hydrochloric acid. Okay, so if nothing but copper, some other materials are there, some other specimens which are non-metallic in nature. Okay, such surfaces, for example glasses, plastic, etc., printed circuit boards. Okay, so they are also done by etching process, but here they are sensitized by dipping them into solution having stannous chloride and hydrochloric acid. So these are also acid treatment. Okay, but more sensitive methods. Okay, next, sensitization treatment in a solution containing stannous chloride and HCl, and then a layer of hydroxystannous chloride film is formed by hydrolysis of the stannous chloride. So what happened here in this sensitization treatment, where we use stannous chloride or HCl, what happened here, this stannous chloride, okay, and HCl and react with each other, or stannous chloride, okay, react with water, and hydroxystannous chloride film coat is formed on the surfaces of the surface of the material. Okay, so stannous chloride react with water, forms stannous hydroxy or hydroxystannous chloride plus HCl. This is followed by activating the specimen by dipping in palladium chloride solution. Okay, so next, after etching, we have to do the dipping of the active surfacing specimen by dipping in palladium chloride solution. Okay, so after that, on drying, a thin layer of palladium is formed on the surface. So this activation of copper surface with the palladium catalyst is termed as seeding. Okay, so the second step in this process is called seeding, where the palladium chloride, okay, palladium chloride is reduced to palladium, which is applied like a coating on the surface of the copper metal, so which is called as seeding. Okay, the seeding step involves immersing the copper surface in a dilute aqueous acidic solution of palladium ions. So catalytically active layer of zero valent palladium forms on the copper surface through a chemical displacement deposition reaction. Okay, so in this treatment, a replacement or exchange reaction takes place. The stannous ions are oxidized to stannic, which releases 2 electrons each and goes into the solution. These electrons are utilized for the reduction of palladium ions present in the activation solution into the palladium particles. Okay, so if you observe this seeding technique, okay, in this seeding technique, what they will do, first the copper surface will be immersed in a dilute aqueous solution of palladium ions. Okay, so palladium chloride solution or palladium ionic solution will be present in that electrolyte, okay, which is acidic in nature. So in this solution, the copper metal will be dipped or immersed. Okay, so what happened here during the catalytic reaction, where we use reducing agents, okay, So a catalytically active layer or zero valent palladium forms on the surface of the copper through a chemical displacement deposition reaction. Okay, so here what is the agent that we use here is stannous chloride are present. Here the stannous ions oxidizes to stannic by releasing electrons into the solution. Okay, these electrons are taken by the palladium ions and palladium ions are reduced to palladium. Okay, the electrons are utilized for the reduction of the palladium ions present in the activation solution into palladium particles. So these palladium particles upon reduction go on like apply like a coating on the surface of the copper metal. Okay, these palladium particles replace stannous ions by reducing palladium ions to palladium. Okay, thus formed randomly distributed palladium film act as a catalyst in the reduction of metal ion into metal. Okay, so here what happened here in the etching method where stannous hydroxy ions are there. Okay, these stannous hydroxy ions where tin ions are present. Okay, which undergoes oxidation and releases electrons into the solution. These electrons are received by the palladium ions and reduction of palladium ions to palladium metal takes place. These palladium particles nothing but they are replacing the stannous ions by reducing themselves to palladium ions to palladium. So thus formed randomly distributed palladium film act as a catalyst in the reduction of metal ion to metal. Okay, so now the active specimen is ready for electrolysis plating process. Okay, so this first step is nothing but preparation of the active surface of copper. How we have to prepare the metallic surface of copper for electrolysis plating step. So the second step is preparation of stable plating bath. So here if you see the reactions happen in the step 1 are stannous hydroxychloride react with palladium chloride and HCl. Okay, so stannous hydroxychloride or hydroxystannous chloride converted to stannous tetrachloride SnCl4 and palladium chloride okay reduces to palladium. So this reaction happens in the first step. Okay, in second step we have to prepare the stable plating bath. Okay, where we have to dip the active copper metallic surfaces for electrolysis plating technique. Okay, so that is nothing but the step 2 preparation of stable plating bath. Okay, so in this step the major constituents of electrolysis plating process are metal ions, the reducing agent, the complexing agents and the pH adjusting agents. Okay, some additives also are added for electrolysis deposition. So as we discussed earlier, okay, in the preparation of stable plating bath, okay, the major components that we have to add to this electrolysis plating process are some metal ions, the reducing agents, the complexing agents, the stabilizing agents and the pH adjusting agents. Okay, all these are the various components that we have to add to this stable plating bath. These additives improve the physical and mechanical properties of the deposits and the stability of the solution. Okay, so in order to improve the stability of the solution, in order to improve the mechanical properties of the metallic deposits, all these additives will be added, like that we discussed earlier, in order to get stability, in order to maintain pH, okay, in order to bind the metallic particles on the metallic surface, like this various additives will be added to the plating bath. Okay, this deposition requires the immersion of the catalytically activated surface in a plating bath containing complexed metal ions and a reducing agent. Okay, so a reducing agent will be present and a metal ionic solution also present in the plating bath. In that the base metal, the copper metal should be dipped where we actually prepared the surfaces in the first step. Okay, so a reducing agent and the plating bath containing complex metal ionic solution should be present. Okay, where the deposition requires the immersion of the catalytically activated copper metal surface here. Okay, so there is a scientist called Feldstein. So Feldstein defined 5 major components of an electrolysis copper plating bath. Okay, so in that the first components are called coating solution. Okay, so this coating solution, the functions are soluble salts of metals like chlorides and sulfates to be plated, like copper sulfates, copper chloride, etc. Okay, those are coating solutions. Okay, second components are complexing agents are to improve the quality of the deposits like EDTA, citrates, some saccharose, some xylitol, etc. will be added like complexing agents. Third kinds of agents are reducing agents. Okay, so to reduce metal ions to metal, these reducing agents will be employed like formaldehyde and hypophosphates, etc. Okay, fourth type of compounds are stabilizers. Okay, stabilizers to prevent the decomposition of the plating bath. Okay, for example benzotriazole, etc. Okay, will be added. And fifth type of components are called pH adjuster or pH buffers to maintain the required pH. Okay, throughout the experiment. So buffering agents or pH adjusters like sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, ammonium hydroxide, etc. will be used as pH adjuster. These are the various types of components. Okay, coupling agents, complexing agents, reducing agents, stabilizers, and pH adjusters. So if you see the advantages of electrolysis plating over electroplating, these are the following advantages of electrolysis plating method. So first one is called no electrical energy is required, because by implying reducing agent a chemical reaction takes place for the coating purpose, so no electricity or no electrical energy is required. Second one is called it has better throwing power. So better coating power is there for this electrolysis plating because of the chemical reaction. Third one is called plating on articles made up of insulators like plastics and semiconductors can easily be carried out. Okay, so not only most of the metallic surfaces, some insulators, some semiconductors also can be easily plated by this electrolysis plating technique. Fourth one is called even intricate parts, okay, like irregular shapes, etc., can also be plated uniformly. So in electroplating method, most of the time uniform coating is not possible for uneven surfaces or irregular shapes. So here in this electrolysis plating technique we can achieve this uniform coating type of process. Even irregular surfaces, uneven surfaces or irregular shapes also will be coated evenly. Okay, that is the major advantage of this electrolysis plating method. Fifth one, electrolysis plated coatings possess unique mechanical, chemical and magnetic features. So compared to the electroplating method, this electrolysis plated coatings contain or possess some unique mechanical, chemical and magnetic features which improve the further life cycle of the metal. Okay, whenever we do this electrolysis plating method, so some properties also will be improved by this electrolysis plating method by improving the basic mechanical, chemical and magnetic features of the metal. Okay, so these are the advantages of electrolysis plating method over electroplate method. Okay, another important method in this non-metallic coatings are hot dipping method. So hot dipping method is nothing but it is one of the most familiar process and very simple process also which can give good results. Okay, in this method the base metal is dipped in a molten coat metal for a particular time to get the uniform coatings. Okay, so here what happened here, the base metal which we are going to protect from corrosion, that should be dipped in a molten metal solution, okay, over a period of time. Okay, so what happened here, that molten metal will be coated uniformly on the surface of the base metal. So that's why it is called hot dipping metal. Okay, the base metal will be dipped in a hot solution of another molten metal, so that molten metal will be coated uniformly on the surface of the base metal. So that's why this method is called as hot dipping method. So the condition for successful hot dipping methods are: first one, the coat metal having lower melting point than the base metal. Okay, so whatever the metal that we are going to coat in a molten state, that should be have lower melting point than the base metal. Okay, second point is the coat metal must form an alloy with the base metal. So whenever we apply this coating metal on the surface of the metal, okay, that coated metal should form like an alloy with the base metal. So that's why whenever it forms an alloy, okay, it's a combination of both two metals, so what happens, the bonding will be more firm, more great. Okay, So that's why the lifetime will be more. The lifetime of the metal will increase it furthermore. So that's how the corrosion will be stopped. So that's how whatever the metallic coating that we applied on the surface of the base metal, both molten metal and the base metal should react with each other and form like an alloy. Okay, so that is another important uh, condition here we have to observe here. The base metal should withstand the high temperature of dipping without any change in the properties. So here what happened here, whatever the metal that we are going to protect from the corrosion, that should be dipped in a hot metal or hot molten solution. So always these hot molten solutions of metal always maintain high temperatures. So whatever the metal that we are going to protect, it should be able to withstand at high temperatures, these high temperatures of dipping, okay, without changing any properties. Hot dipping is done on iron with zinc, tin and aluminum as coating metal. Okay, if you see the examples of hard dipping of iron, generally this hard dipping of iron done by zinc, tin and aluminum as coating metal. Okay, so again here some there are some common examples of hard dipping methods are there. Some, okay, there are different types of methods are there in this hard dipping method. Among these, the two important one are called galvanizing and tinning. So first one is called galvanizing. Okay, galvanizing is nothing but it is a process of coating zinc over the base metal or over the iron surface. Okay, over the sheet of iron or over the surface of the iron. When zinc is coated, then this process is called galvanizing. So galvanizing always deal with the zinc coating. Okay, so if you observe the process of galvanizing, the base metal iron sheet is first pickled, means pre-treatment done with dilute sulfuric acid to remove any oxide coatings are present. Okay, it is then thoroughly washed with water. Okay, the cleaned dried iron sheet is dipped in a bath of molten zinc, which is coating metal here. Okay, which is kept at 425 to 430 degrees centigrades. Okay, so first step in this galvanizing process is to pre-treatment of the iron surface. Okay, so if there are any grease material, are there any impurities are there, okay, those should be removed by acid treatment. Okay, by treating with dilute H2SO4. If there are any dirt particles, impurities or grease particles are there, those will be removed by treatment with dilute H2SO4. Then after cleaning it, the iron sheet will be dried and dipped in a molten zinc solution. Okay, so at 425 to 430 degrees centigrade. So at this temperature what happened, the molten zinc will be applied like a coat on the surface of the iron. Next step, the surface of the molten coating metal is covered with ammonium chloride flux to prevent the oxidation of molten coating metal to its oxide. So whenever zinc is applied like a coating on the surface of the iron, zinc always have a tendency to undergo oxidation at regular conditions, in natural conditions. So in order to prevent the oxidation of coated zinc, okay, some flux material will be added. This flux material is nothing but ammonium chloride. Okay, it is act like a flux to prevent the oxidation of molten coating metal to its oxide. So zinc, when zinc is converted to zinc oxide, okay, the characteristics of the coating will be changes. It will become very brittle again. So that's why in order to prevent the oxidation of zinc to zinc oxide, okay, ammonium chloride flux is added. So whenever we add ammonium chloride, it prevents the oxidation of zinc to zinc oxide. So that's how this zinc protects the surface of the metal. Okay, so due to the formation of a thin layer of an intermetallic compound, like iron and zinc derivatives, okay, like Fe3Zn10 or Fezn or FeZn13. Okay, so these are the intermetallic compounds, okay, of various composition. At the interface, like at the base metal phase, a pure layer of zinc is tightly adhered to the iron sheet. Okay, so the excess coating metal from the iron sheet is removed by passing through a pair of hot rollers. Okay, so whenever a thin layer of zinc is formed on the surface of the iron metal, again this molten zinc forms an alloy with iron, like alloy of iron and zinc. which is majorly the composition either Fe3Zn10 or FeZn or FeZn13. So these are the metallic intermetallic compounds like alloys forms on the interface of the both base and zinc metal. Okay, so a pure layer of zinc is tightly adhered to the iron sheet in this form. Okay, so the excess coating of the metal from the iron sheet is removed by passing through a pair of hot rollers. After coating of this zinc molten coating on the surface of the iron, okay, in order to remove the excess material or in order to get a uniform coating, then this iron sheet is passing through a pair of hot rollers. Okay, so if you see the process here in the picture, so this iron sheet is first supplied into a chamber which containing dilute H2SO4, which is called pickling. So through this treatment, so this dilute H2SO4 or acid removes any dirt particles or impurities are present on the surface of the iron sheet will be removed by this acid treatment. Then this iron sheet further rolled into another chamber which contain zinc chloride solution, molten zinc chloride solution. Some additives like palm oil also will be added in order to maintain high temperature, and some ammonium chloride flux also will be added in order to bind the zinc firmly to the surface of the iron. So whenever the iron sheet is dipped in the molten zinc chloride solution, so in order to achieve the uniformity of this zinc coating, so this iron is further transferred or passed through a pair of hot rollers in order to get a uniform zinc coating on the surface of the iron. So that's why we can achieve uniform coating of zinc on the surface of iron. So what are the uses of this galvanization? Galvanized iron is used in automobile industries, especially underbody parts, roofing sheets, lamp posts, etc. All these will be coated generally with zinc. So that's why this is called galvanized iron. Galvanized iron is nothing but iron is coated with zinc. That is called galvanized iron. So this galvanized iron is mostly used in automobile industries, especially in order to prepare underbody parts of the automobile vehicles, for rooftop sheets and for lamp post, etc. This galvanized iron will be used. And second process is called tinning. So in galvanization zinc is used, but in tinning process, tin will be used as a coating material. So that's why it is called tinning. Tinning is a process of coating tin over iron sheet. Iron is the base material that we have to protect from the corrosion. So this iron will be coated with tin in tinning process. So if you see the process, first again the base metal is first pickled or treated with the dilute sulfuric acid to remove any oxide film present on that, or in order to remove any impurities are present on the surface of the iron. It is then washed with water. The cleaned and dried base metal is dipped in a bath of molten tin, which is kept at 230 to 235 degrees centigrade. So in galvanization, whenever after pickling method, whenever we dip the base iron metal in zinc solution, here in tinning, the iron metal will be dipped in molten tin solution at 230 to 235 degrees centigrade. The surface of the molten coating metal is covered with zinc chloride flux to clean base metal further. So here again, in galvanization process, whenever we use ammonium chloride flux, in the place of ammonium chloride, here zinc chloride flux will be used in order to clean the metal. So what happened here in this process, the palm oil is used to prevent the oxidation of molten coating metal. That is nothing but tin to tin oxide will be prevented by using palm oil, etc. So zinc chloride as a flux is used here in order to prevent the oxidation of tin to tin oxide. Here zinc chloride is used. In galvanization, ammonium chloride is used as flux. In tinning process, zinc chloride is used as flux, which prevent the oxidation of tin to tin oxide. Some palm oil also will be used. So due to the formation of a thin layer of iron tin alloy, that is nothing but FeSN2, at the interface, a pure layer of tin is tightly adhered to the iron sheet. Okay, the excess of coating metal from the iron sheet is removed by passing through a pair of hot rollers. So after again, after the coating, again we have to send this iron sheet pass through a pair of hot rollers, so in order to achieve the uniform coating of tin on the surface of the iron sheet. Okay, so that is nothing but the tin process. So if you see in this tinning process also, okay, the first step is composed of pre-treatment of the active surface of the iron metal, that is nothing but acid treatment. Okay, by using dilute H2SO4. If there are any impurities are present on the surface of the iron will be removed. Then it is dipped in the molten solution of tin. Okay, in galvanization it is dipped in the molten solution of zinc. Okay, next the iron sheet will be supplied to another chamber where the zinc chloride flux will be there. Okay, which prevent the oxidation of tin to tin oxide. In galvanization, ammonium chloride flux chamber will be there, which prevent the oxidation of zinc to zinc oxide. Okay, so if you observe both the galvanization and tin, both methods are same, but here in galvanization zinc is coated on the surface of iron. In tinning method, tin is coated on the surface of the iron. Okay, so both are different. Okay, if you see the uses of tinning iron or tinning method of iron, so tin plated iron used in food containers because of its non-toxic nature. So when we compare to the tin to any other metals, this tin is mostly non-toxic in nature. So the food graded iron generally coated with this, okay, tin kind of coating, or tin plated iron is generally used in food containers because it is non-toxic in nature. Okay, so this is about tinning method. So here you have to write an exercise that write the differences between electroplating and hot dipping. So what are the differences are there that you have to write on your own. Okay, so this is about the modifying of the metal in order to control the corrosion by modifying metal. Like only metallic coatings are in our syllabus. In that, electroless plating and hot dipping methods are very much important. Another process is called cementation. Okay, that I am not explaining here because the cementation process that you have to read it yourself only. Okay, that is for your reading purpose I am leaving. Okay, so here electroless plating of copper is important and hot dipping method is important. Again, in this hot dipping method, galvanization and tinning methods are there. Both are very much simple. We have to first write the what are the steps are present in these methods with the help of the diagrams, and we have to explain the process. Okay, so that's it. This is about the third unit, third module, corrosion. So till now the entire corrosion unit is completed. So at the end of this lesson, again some questions are there for assignment. Okay, so do the assignments. So I am also attaching the material for your consideration purpose here. Okay, along with this video I am attaching the link of material, and also whatever the presentation that I am following, that is also attaching as a PowerPoint document as a link below this video. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so let us meet in next unit, unit 4th. Okay.